And we are back with the BXB pod. This is a continuation of our season two. Took a long hiatus, but we're bringing it back and we are going everything now in this format in terms of more Zoom-ish format, making sure we can get as many guests as possible while still having the same as that type of feel with the backdrop. So today we're having a return guest speaker, Nsuani Bafo. And Nsuani is a gym owner in the downtown Toronto area. He's been my mentor in Big Bro for the last 2 years now and has helped me in ways that I can't even imagine, both personally and also on the business side. Today, we're just going to talk to Nsuani about a myriad of different topics that highlight his expertise, but more importantly, will help you, the listener, get a lot out of it in terms of practical information that would take you to the next level. So, to get it back started, I would just say let's just talk about, what I'm saying, who you are again to the people. Just a quick rundown for those who may be new to you, and also an update of what's going on right now for yourself to those who've heard the first episode.
For sure, brother. First of all, I received your words. Appreciate you. To God be the glory.
For
And
sure.
watching you develop over the last few years has been really special, very encouraging for myself. As you mentioned, I'm a business owner. I own a gym in Midtown Toronto, Ferris 360. We have about 24 coaches on staff, a couple chiropractors. I am a health coach, health strategist. I've taken myself out of the personal training, strength coach type mindset because most of my clients are everyday people. I still do
Hmm.
work with some professional athletes, amateur athletes, but at the end of the day, I'm the person who helps organize people's health strategy. And that
Hmm.
obviously includes fitness, strength training, cardiovascular work, but also wellness.
Yeah.
And in my almost 20 years now, 20 years as an athlete, as a trainer, as a coach, all the things I said I no longer identify as, I also have a very good resource network. So when I'm working with a client, it's almost like they're coming into my team and we're just working as a community to help that one person achieve their goals. So health strategist is probably the best word that fits my designation.
I like that. That's pretty dope. Health strategist. I mean, for me, I got the moniker of human performance coach. So kind of
Like that.
similar. Yeah, kind of similar in terms of trying to make it more holistic. One of the things I want to talk about first is we all know a lot of PTs and strength coaches get into the industry getting a degree, right? And the biggest thing I want to talk about is like what are the challenges about just coming into the industry with a 4 year degree and obviously expecting a, let's just say a simple baseline pay of like 40, 50,000. That's what most 40 degrees get you and stuff like that. But you're getting compensated like, 24, 36, sometimes even a little bit in between 30, based upon the field we're in, either as a coach or a manager for a studio. One thing I started to recommend a lot of my younger coaches I work with is if you're going to school for exercise science, minor in teaching, and get
Hmm.
a certification in teaching. So when you do come out of college and the jobs don't look like it's faring too well, at least you know you can work as a PE teacher, health coach, something during the day, and then in the evening you can build up your clientele. Can you just expand on like how defeating it is for a lot of young people getting a 4 year degree in exercise or kinesiology and seeing the landscape of jobs and the compensation I imagine the work they put in for school?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, first and foremost, the whole space around wellness, performance, you know, fitness, it's still very, very new.
Yes, I
So it's
agree.
great that you have formal education. And I love when a coach I'm working with has a good understanding of anatomy, biomechanics, energy systems, even base nutrition, because it just
Mm,
helps to start the conversation at a later place. Doesn't mean everyone has to have that, but it definitely helps. But it is a switch to have a very structured school traditional type education, then all of a sudden go into entrepreneurship. And that's basically how you should always look at fitness.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're working for a chain, a company, yourself, you have to always think of being an entrepreneur. So that gap or that divide can be tough for people. But I do agree with what you said. Have as much secondary skills as possible, even if
hmm,
it relates to a secondary job or a primary job while you're building up your secondary job in fitness, or just skills. There's nothing worse than when you have someone who has all the knowledge from their education,
hmm,
understanding of principles and protocols, and they can't communicate it out to an everyday client.
yeah,
So if you're not going to take a PE minor or have some education in a separate field, brush up on your public speaking. Listen, strength coaches, PTs, whatever you want to call yourself, it's a business. So I hate this idea of like, oh, if I just train people and get results, everything's gonna take care of itself.
Um,
Horseshit. It's a business. Get yourself a little bit of business skills, whether it's
yeah.
finance, accounting, marketing, social media marketing, social
Mm,
media content creation, public speaking, um, organization, Excel. Like, yes, we always have to major and continually educate ourselves on protocols that improve human performance.
mm,
But at the end of the day, most people are working jobs and exist in everyday life. So you have to have some sort of relation points and skills that adapt so that you can bring them into what you know as your specialty, right? So,
yeah.
that'll be my biggest piece of advice. And it's entrepreneurship. I don't care if you work for a sports team or you work for a lab. I had never really seen a job in the health wellness space that is capped,
Mm,
right?
very true.
Unless you're on a job that has a very strong non-compete, even if you work with a sports team, you can do some online programming,
Yeah.
right? Or if you work in a gym, usually you can still work somewhere else to pick up some of the clients. So the idea that you are waiting for a salary just doesn't really work in this space.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I always wanted to highlight. I feel like that right there is the biggest thing. Is like so many, the ones that are in school going through the formal route, just think it's a continuation of it being formal, unless you want to be a physical therapist or occupational therapist, whatever it is. So where like you're in more of a clinical based setting and you understand like, okay, this hospital or this clinic will pay me my salary and I'm good.
Right,
Um,
right.
Gyms are different. Gyms are extremely high risk, sometimes low reward in terms of what's going on. And you have to understand that as a personal trainer or strength coach or performance coach. And so your point is like you need to have a lot of business skills, a lot of relationship skills. And the most important thing is, how do you bring value? Which goes to my next question. You taught me this when we first talked in 2022. You told me that as a coach, you need to understand what you do well, and define those things into values. Like, how does what you do pretty well add value to anything? So, if you're a basketball coach, where are you adding value towards this client? If you're a strength coach, where are you adding value towards this athlete? Just expand upon that, like, knowing your specialty or your niche, and how do you go about honing and also finding those values to advertise your services.
For sure. And again, I apologize. It seems like everyone is up on Sunday morning down in
It's
Toronto.
all good.
I thought it'd be a quiet morning. We got trains and streetcars going by.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're keeping in the context or at least the framework of speaking to younger coaches, first
Yeah.
thing is, understanding your niche and then your target market. It takes some time. And
Hmm.
and don't rush for that. And I would always say take on as many different types of clients that you can, whether they're amateur athletes or you're interning at a place that has professional athletes or people who are paid to do their sport,
Yeah.
executives, moms. Like, just get a good understanding in your first 2 to 3 years what you like, what you don't, in terms of the energy of working with people, where your protocols fit best, and where they may not. Right? It took me a
Yeah.
few years to realize I don't do very well with obese clients. I
Mm.
can flex my understanding of struggle. I can flex my understanding of times where I haven't been happy with my body to meet people initially where they are, either in a consultation process or a sales type environment. But if you
Yeah.
start going through the months and years of programming and execution, I'm not the best person for that.
Mm.
I have this story where I had this one client, I helped him lose 100 pounds 3 times.
Whoa.
And right, it sounds crazy. You think about what I'm saying is he gained it back every time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, right, right. Coaches get that, but when I tell people, regular people, like, what does he weigh? Zero? No, he gained 100, lost 100, gained 100, lost 100. And my approach, which is a little more of a, adversarial push, 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 it got initial results, but it didn't really help for sustainability.
mm,
And it was by my third year, I was like, you know what? There's got to be someone better for this. And I have coaches who either had experiences themselves personally
mm,
with being obese and losing weight, or people just still have a little more emotional intelligence than I do in that space. So that was something I really suggest is take some time to figure out your niche. But while you're going through that process, the definition of value comes from solving someone's problem.
there we
So you
go.
have to listen to the pain points. You have to listen to the pain points of each one of these demographics, each one of these categories you're working in. What's the pain point of a young athlete, right? It's definitely going to be on the field. Am I strong enough, fast enough?
Am I good
Am
enough?
I good enough? But then also the psychological pain points. Do I want to do this? Right?
Hmm.
What's next if I can't do this well? The pressure, the
Yeah,
schedule. So if you're a coach now who's into it and you obviously know your work, your programming, your execution, your exercise selection, your regressions, but you're also looking for the soft skills. How do I make sure this kid's having a bad day? How do I know to look when he's burnt out? How do I communicate to his parents when they're being a little too much on him, which is affecting his performance? Now, all of a sudden, if that's your thing and you enjoy that, you can replicate that. And you also can speak to it, right?
yeah, for sure.
You literally can be like, hey, are you a young athlete who's feeling the pressure of performance? Come work with me. Like you can actually speak to those things. And I find when we are looking to market ourselves, again, going back to the average person in wellness fitness, we say we didn't get in it for the marketing and the sales and the money. That's a bit of truth, but it's mostly a lie. It's mostly we struggle sometimes to convey our message. But if we're
Yeah.
thinking about the pain points of our demographic or our clients, and we develop those pain points by spending time with these different demographics,
Hmm.
speak it out your mouth, right? So, for
For
example, my
sure.
demographic is anybody from the late 20s to mid 50s. I call it the high responsibility exerciser. So what does that mean?
Mm.
It's not the first time in the gym. So my gym, Midtown Toronto, you'll walk in and you'll see, I think we got 5 fixed machines, right? Leg press, iron chair, leg curl, GHR. Like we don't have a whole setup like Planet Fitness or Equinox of which machines everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have woodways, skiers, kettlebells. Most of our equipment is not great if you're first time in the gym.
Got you.
Okay, so if you've never worked out before, you're probably better going off to a commercial gym where you can hone your skills and hone your tempo and your form with tethered machines.
Yeah.
But my demographic, at late 20s to mid 50s, they've been in the gym,
Hmm.
right? Especially the time when you hit your late 20s, 30s, you probably worked with a coach before, especially in Toronto. You might have some sport background from college or at least high school.
Yeah.
So this person knows the need to work out. It's not their first time working out, but they've probably hurt themselves. They
Mm.
probably had a bullshit personal trainer somewhere along the way to their corporate gym. They probably have their Peloton, which is now acting as a coat rack or a towel dryer. They're not using
Yeah,
that
most
shit
definitely.
anymore,
Most definitely.
right? So when I come across someone like me, I have first of all to be like, yo, I understand where you've been. I've done all these things. I've been in it for 15 years coaching, um, and I express my abilities through my assessment. Especially
Mm.
watching exercise execution is really big for me. Exercise selection, execution is very big because for someone who's been working out, as a coach, oh yeah, I know the chest press. Yeah, I know how to do this because they've done it so many times, probably incorrectly, right? So having a keen eye and working with that person, it adds tremendous value. Like, wait a minute, I've been doing this wrong for so many years. No, you're not doing it wrong. I'm just showing you how to do it better, right?
Exactly.
And then when we get to the lifestyle, so we're talking late 20s to mid 50s, kids or probably kids planning,
For sure.
right? Mortgage or high rent.
One of the two is always there.
Work, right? Work. You're at least 5 to 10 years out of school. And usually people in my demographic have a degree, sometimes 2 degrees. So what does that mean? They have a job and they're doing well in their job. They could be in partnership track or senior management or entrepreneurship. Like they've been doing their shit and they're starting to get some money. By the way, I swear, that's cool.
Oh, trust me, I'm not going. I'm
Okay.
not going to trip.
Okay.
It's
Perfect. So
every
they're
episode has cursing on it.
good. I know it's too late, but we're in anyway. So yeah, they're making money.
Yeah,
Um, But it's not like they're going to yacht parties and popping bottles. That money is going back to paying off the student loan, paying
for
down that
sure.
big old mortgage,
For
the
sure.
kids' activities. Like maybe you're paying for private school, you're getting ready to pay for school,
Hmm.
which is only going to move into university. Like you're in the shit, and then on top of that, your parents are getting older. That's the key,
Now
right?
you got to start
I'm
throwing bread that
42.
way.
You got it. It's or at least throwing energy at the very least, right? So like for that's my lifestyle. I'm 42. I live in a nice neighborhood in Toronto, up and coming neighborhood. My mortgage is big. My wife is an executive. She's a lawyer. I got 2 kids. My spend alone on kid activities could buy me a
It's,
new Lexus
it's
annually,
somebody.
right?
It's a teacher's salary for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Teacher salary for sure. That's a great way of saying it. But then my mom, oh man, I need a new cell phone. Thankfully my brother is very supportive and he's done very well for himself. He's my older brother, so the weight's not on me heavy yet. But my mother-in-law says, "Oh, my car needs an oil change. You think I'm gonna be like, give me my credit card? Give me your credit card." I'm just taking and get that done, right? My dad needs a new phone, or he's saying he's hungry. He's got low groceries. I'm gonna go fill his fridge, and then when it snows, I gotta go clear his
Yeah,
lot,
have a clear driveway. Yeah,
right?
man.
So what do you think my weekends look like? Dance, football
Packed.
practice in the morning, packed. So put that all together, understand my pain points or my target pain point. Now, how more important is that this exercise, this workout, this training program is actually producing results, right?
No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
So, so it's that's just to come full circle because I said a lot there. It's like when you're young, you just kind of have to. First of all, you have energy, you don't have experience.
So to use that
So
first, got to burn it
yeah, you
off.
haven't don't give me work life balance when you're first year out of school. I ain't trying to hear that shit, right? Work,
I
then
never
you
knew what
find
that
your
meant. I
yeah,
never knew what
work
that
and then
meant.
find your balance after, right? Um, work, take care of yourself. Obviously, don't burn out and make sure you sleep, eat, train. But work with different clientele. Yo, that person got an injury. You know what? I'm not great at that, but I'm gonna go to the physio with him and learn and
Yeah,
watch and listen, right? Okay, boom. That person is obese. Let's take it on. Let me see. At least I can do is hold him accountable to sessions and smart exercise. Anybody can do that coming out of school, right?
yeah,
And then over time, you realize, I was really good with that rehab client. I should go deeper into that. And maybe that's more education. Maybe that's more hands-on experience. But then I'm also listening. What keeps someone from getting back to function after injury, right? Is it time? Is it the protocol? What takes people when they get that piece of paper from the physio and the physio says, do all these exercises to make your arm better? They don't do it,
mm.
right? What is those pain points that now my service can fill that gap, right? So long
Yeah. Be
answer,
that
but
bridge.
yeah, you got to be that brave. That's all we are at the end of the day. I would say this: a health coach, strength and conditioning coach, whatever you want to call yourself, your number one value to a client, your number one value to a client is the fact that you schedule. That's it. Everything else, like I know people like to put all the letters behind their name, like to show off all testimonials. I'm with all that. But at the end of the day, a doctor is smarter than you. A doctor is smarter than me. A
Mm-hmm.
physio is better able. A physio is better able to deal with pain than we can. Chiro, osteo, put anybody in that bucket. They're better than us in that. Um, some of these God-given athletes are so talented. It's God that gave it. It's not us. But what we can do is we're going to see you multiple times a week for years. So if it's one exercise that's going to make you better, I can make sure you do that
Yeah.
100 times a week. You know what I'm saying?
Just change the
My
variation.
doctor, exactly. My doctor is going to say everything he can say in that 20-minute appointment, and then it's done after that,
Facts. That's true.
right?
That's true.
If you're low on hydration, I can every day, Sean, did you drink water today? How much? We have all these tools and apps we can track. We can do pictures. Same thing with sleep. Same thing with food. Same thing with stress management. I can implement all these strategies from people who are more intelligent than me, but I can make it way more impactful. Simple fact that I schedule and see you multiple times or communicate with you multiple times per week. That is my power.
Mm. That is
But
true.
if I'm not talking about that, then if I'm talking about, some other shit, then I'm throwing away a big piece of my value there, right?
Yeah. And to add to that point, seeing them so many times and being there so many times is like, how are you presently focused on their end goal? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you presently focusing on getting them towards their promised land? For me as youth athletes, every single one got the same thing: college and professional. It's the same exact thing
Right,
every single day. And I always tell the kids like, that's cool, but what's your GPA like? Like, let's just
right,
start there. Let's start
right,
there. There's a lot of colleges, a lot of different divisions, and you might not go D1. But with your 2.3, yeah, you just lost out on. You just lost out
everything.
on. Yeah, man. Only thing left is junior college, and that right there is not built for everybody.
Right, right. And you're right, because that's how our athletes slip through the cracks. Because again, you think about those contact points. Coach is going to say it. Every coach says, keep your grades up, keep your grades up. Little GA, little assistant coach, depending on how well your program's set up, might be able
Yeah.
to even walk you to study hall, do that class check-in stuff. But at the end of the day, who can check in with you multiple times on a habit, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's a fitness habit, a recovery habit, or like you're saying now, even an educational habit,
Yeah.
right?
Facts.
It's that coach. It's that coach literally. And even as you're saying that now, I often will say to my demographic, again, late 20s, mid 50s, that's a big
Hmm.
stretch, but I would say, like, if you found a therapist that was working for you, if you found a money manager that was working for you, giving you a return on investment, return on time, would you just say after a couple months, yeah, I'm good?
Hell no, I ain't gonna lie to you. I done found me a great therapist, so fuck that.
Right? A great
Nah,
barber, a great
nah,
stylist. You know what? This
nah,
cut's so fresh, I'm gonna take it from here. We never would say that, right? So
no, no.
once you land that value and you can communicate it, that's how now, I'm going on 15 years, some of the same
Hmm.
clients, right? My average client time in my gym is about 7.5 months, right? So that means you come
That's
in, you're
great
going to be here for
retentionship.
you're going to be here for 7.5 months. Some shorter, some longer, some graduate to other programs, some leave. I get it, but 7.5. If you give me 7.5 months with anybody, you're going to leave that experience very happy,
Yeah,
and it's
most
probably
definitely, I
going to
agree.
yeah, it's going to compound to other longer services. So that's
That's
even
some
ties
great
into what we're
billables.
saying. Well, from a business point of view,
Yeah,
the cost of acquiring a new client is high,
yeah,
and again, we don't always love to be on the salesman marketing tip, so I better keep my folk, right?
for sure. As long as you can.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it kind of ties to the next point too about business. I just want to talk about that right there a lot more. The value of retaining, the art of retaining, and more
Hmm.
importantly, the art of word of mouth and organically building that community that supports you and what you do. The biggest
Hmm.
thing I learned from last year to now, especially as a head coach and being more of a leader of young men, I realized like that's the true value of a coach is that you're supposed to lead and direct and guide these kids into the next step of life while also making sure they get better within the sport.
Yeah,
And I didn't see so much value when I first got started. I never saw so much value in helping this young man, adjust through puberty, helping this young
right.
dude um, how to
Especially
lock
our
in on.
black brothers, man.
Yeah, that's real. That's what I'm saying. Like I never saw the value in that. Never saw the value in helping this kid just get ready for ninth grade and making sure he understands like, having a 3.5 is the most important thing as a ninth grader because that weighted average takes over everything for 10th, 11th, and 12th. No matter what you do after this is your foundation. So
That's great advice.
it's just small, small things, right? And I've seen compared to this year, compared to the other years of training starting back in 2021, it's like I'm like, damn, I'm keeping mad kids. Like, all right, word of mouth is picking up. They telling their friends, I'm getting new referrals. I'm like, okay, this is calm, this is cool. But I had to reflect. I'm like, what was this some years back? And it's like you weren't a leader. You were trying to just say, oh, I can get you better with your handles. I can get you better with your jump shot. I can help
Yep,
you jump higher. Da da da. So
yep.
my soft skills were shit to say the least. My soft skills were shit.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I was
And
all
it's
about
actually it's
the
actually okay. Yeah, but just to
yeah.
add to that, it's okay because at the in the beginning when you're a coach and any type of client you're working with, you obsess over the program, the X's and
For
O's, right?
sure, for
You're
sure.
right.
Hell yeah.
Your first client you get, you write that program. Let's say you see that client on Thursday. That program's ready by the Sunday before, right? And you've done
Every
it two, three
detail,
times. You've
every
done it two, three
detail.
times. You've asked your partner to check, yo, does this look right to you? You know what I mean? Because it's like that is what you're focusing because you think it's the most important. And I like that is like I prefer a trainer who's better with hard skills and not so good with soft skills in the beginning, and then later on
Mm,
grows versus the other way around. Because if you can't program and you're talking and you're bringing people in, and you can't deliver. That's a bigger problem, right? But
that's a shitty
but it
problem, but
sounds
yeah.
like that's a shitty problem. But it sounds like for you is like you now are so confident in the X's and O's that you're seeing the picture a little bit further out
Hmm.
and communicating about things that X's and O's are covered. Once this kid's in the gym, I know that's going to happen. That's automatic. But what's going to keep this kid eligible? I'm sure you're having a bunch of family conversations with kids and their moms and their
Yeah,
dads and their girls and all that stuff, right? And that's what I mean about, pain points and value. Yeah, young athlete has to be able to handle his business on the court or the field for sure. They got to stay eligible for sure. But there's so much color around that a lot of coaches just don't talk to. They're always talking bigger, stronger, faster, right?
nah, it's deeper. It's like, all right, let's take it a step further since Melanin is on the conversation, right? Let's do a little tangent. All right,
Hmm.
what happened if Little Johnny, you get home, there's no food there. Let's talk about that.
Right.
Let's talk
Right.
about, all right,
I'm
little
clapping
Johnny.
you on that one.
Yeah, let's just say
Because
little
teachers,
Johnny.
teachers even miss that, right?
Yeah, I'm
Teachers will tell you
serious.
the kid's a bad kid. Well, he's not eating. His
He
parents are.
not
His
eating,
dad's
bro.
beating on his dad's beating on his mom. He got someone in the house who's not taking care of him or taking advantage of him. We miss these things all the time, right? So again, if I'm in someone's face multiple times per week, so much power comes with that, man. Big responsibility.
I think the biggest thing, right? 'Cause we kind of alluded to that earlier while we were on this tangent, is about, you're in the face so many times, right? You're right there in the face all the time and you're having a lot of impact. But if you're so busy telling the kid, oh, you got to do more, you got to da da da, and it's like, look, man, it's not like that. As a person who's recovering from childhood, severe trauma, and a person who is now like on the other side of PTSD, um, it's nothing you can do. I remember being in practice, yo, and like having a good practice, like my eighth grade year, rec center, and coach is just like, you got to get the hell back. That's not good enough, and I just freeze,
Right,
shut down,
right,
can't do
right,
shit. Jump shots now off, confidence is shot, everything. How
right,
many kids have that same response because they have an anxiety response to everything because of their household? Could you just trigger
right.
something from their background, right? It's a lot of
Hundred
kids.
percent.
So it's what buttons are we going to push and how do we push those buttons the right way? And you're not going to know what button to push if you don't know the kid, their
There you go.
background, and what they're going
I'll
through.
go further. I'll go further. You won't even know buttons to push if you don't have a kid. And this is not. It's not about them. It's about you. And I'm seeing that. Like my son is 9 right now, and he's
Yeah.
starting to come on. He's starting to come on his form. Like his first sport is swimming
Hmm.
and middle distance track and field. But this is the first time he's playing flag football, basketball, and it's all coming. It's coming together slowly, but it's coming
Yeah. Yeah.
together. And you know, I'm always. I first of all don't tell any of the coaches that I played NCAA football. I don't tell any of them I own a gym. I don't say nothing. I just try to be as far back as I can. Anytime the ball's passed to me or comes out of bounds, I'll try to, what I mean, or throw a nice little spiral, let them know I got something.
It
But
ain't
I'm, you
sweet. Yeah, for sure.
know what I'm saying?
For sure. I peep
I
that
was
for
like, I got
sure.
you, coach. Threw a nice little
Like,
rope,
come on
but
now. I got some
I'm,
jeans over here.
I'm, I'm, I'm purposely trying to play a little bit from the back just because I
Yeah.
want to observe the coaches, right?
Mm.
And I want to watch the energy. And at this level, you're probably in it for the right reasons because there's not much compensation, but it
Yeah.
changes fast, as you know, changes super fast. And I'm watching a lot of people out there in the space, and it's like, is it really about the athlete or is it really about you?
It's really about you, man. It's about you and
And
what you do.
if it's right, and if you're missing that and you're not seeing these kids and thinking about all the color behind what gets the kid through the door to practice and what's going on in its preparation, and you're just worried about the next tournament, the next championship, the next bowl game, the next whatever, the next recruit. That's how we grow these kids up into, if they're lucky, they're pro athletes with problems. But at least they have some resources to try to fix it. Worse off is if, we would say 95% of athletes won't play sports professionally.
Yeah. So
Then
now
you
what?
move these kids out. Yeah, you move these kids out into um, society where they aren't gonna have coaches and people around them, and you brush through. You never took a chance to see the kid for who he was as a person instead of just an X on a board, right? So it's a big responsibility. Like you said, leadership is not. It's not something that because I have some money I can buy it, or if I have some letters behind my name because I took some education I can get it. It's a whole other thing. It's God given.
It's God given, and it's more importantly, a self disciplined effort of chipping away at you. That's just how I see
Yeah,
it. You
yeah,
gotta chip at you,
100%.
and you gotta be the hardest person on yourself, not in a bad way, but it's just the bare bone honesty, like
Yep,
waking up and saying like, "Am I doing what I'm supposed to do?"
right.
Simple as
I
that.
believe that. I
I had
believe
to
that.
ask myself that question. I'm like, is my programming great enough to get me in the doors of a D1 facility or NBA facility? No, it's not. So stop sitting around like you can just chill. So it's
Right.
just having those
Exactly.
conversations like, am I up to par for whatever standard I'm trying to reach? And the more you can be disciplined with that effort, I feel like now it's not hard to hold somebody else accountable because like I'm literally showing you what it takes because I do it every day. I'm not making shit up.
Right.
This is how you
Right.
do it. You got to self-assess. You got to report to yourself, and then you go from there. So but taking that tangent and bringing it back to the circle we're on in terms of the train of thought, within the business sector, and now you understand the value relationship and talking to people a certain way and building that rapport. Um, we talked about it a bit. You talked about voicing to the pain problems or voicing solutions and things of that nature. Um, do you think a lot of people in their first time starting off as coaches waste their time marketing the same things everybody markets to in terms of testimonials or results, as opposed to marketing the value of their niche to the pain points? Like, how do you feel about people's marketing skills when they first start out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do believe, I mean, you still have to have testimonials, especially when you're
Yeah,
talking
for
about pain
sure.
points, right? Because
Yeah,
people want to hear someone else say it. Somebody want, it's better to have someone else talk about your service than you.
for
So
sure.
I would say for new coaches, we're not even new coaches, but especially new coaches, where we get kind of stuck is there's two thoughts. There's a
Okay.
thought of speaking to your target,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a thought of building your credibility amongst your peers.
Mm.
So when we talk about marketing, I often find coaches are too caught up in looking good to their peers.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in. Fuck them. Fuck them.
Well, I mean, you're not completely fuck them, but at the end of the day, who's paying your bills, right?
That's what I'm about to say though. That's what I was about to say. Like, you can't
Right,
worry about you'll get
right,
credibility off of what you do with your clientele.
right. And it's also I believe everything is God given. So if I've been given this gift, and my other coaches have been given a gift, and what's the gift of being a coach? We already identified leadership.
Yeah.
But it's also like, let's be honest, a lot of us stuck to the fact that we believed in the power of the body and the practice of working on the body, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all had athletics in our background, but we didn't go to accounting. We didn't go to law. We're like, let me stick
Hmm.
with it. And in my day, I remember for years, my parents were like, how's the gym thing going? Right? Like
Don't be
now,
fucking get me started on that shit.
so, yeah, I mean, now it's a little easier. Not easier, but now people recognize it and respect a little more, which is a beautiful thing. But my point in
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
was like, we already are this crew of people, the strength coach, trainer, wellness, chiropractic community. We're already alike. We don't need to be talking to each other.
for sure.
In fact, statistics show us we should be talking to the people who need our
A lot
services.
more.
So, right. I look at my young coaches and I'm like, why wouldn't you post this? This is your client has a great testimonial about not just testimony, like official testimony. You have a client who's working their butt off. You're doing great work with them, but you're reposting someone's sports specific program. And it's like, okay, sure. But also this is what's happening. But I guess they're shy, ashamed. They don't think it's going to look good to their
Mm.
peers. Another thing is exercise, right? I always show exercise through my different body types of clients.
Yes, that's
Everybody
true.
here has everybody has a client where you're like, damn, I wish I did that better. Everybody. But if my idea is to get more people into fitness, I need to show every single body type doing exercise. I'm not just going to show my
Mm.
super talented, super fit, great kinesthetic movers, right?
Hmm.
And I know young coaches may not do that because you may be looking and being like, yo, what is he doing? She's doing it wrong. But it's not about you as a coach seeing she's doing it wrong or doing it not as well. I mean, I'm not talking about being unsafe here, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
But
Yeah,
we know that some body types just don't move like others. But you as a coach showing how you navigate that inspires way more people than seeing LeBron James work out,
most
right?
definitely, most definitely.
If I'm about actually my craft and my responsibility as a leader, which is to work through my demographic and help them become more healthy. So
Yeah,
to really tighten this up into a clear message, as a young coach, your biggest point of focus in your marketing should always be the people who eventually are going to take on your service and pay your bills, right?
for sure. Most definitely agree.
Yeah,
And
and use every single avenue you can, written testimonial, video testimonial, show them in their exercise, ask them really in the session, can you write a Google review? Google reviews are really important because sometimes you need to read them to feel good about your service, right?
yeah,
And you can share that to people. People look up everything online. and less important to look cool to your peers.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. And to that same point, how important is it to also use your clientele for referrals and to build up on that word of mouth?
Number one, number one reason that trainers don't get referrals and renewals, literally, they don't ask.
Wow.
Right? Let's go with renewals first. I told you we have a
Wow.
7.5 month, 7.5 month average lifetime with our clients.
Yeah.
Whenever when someone, whenever when someone doesn't have, um, doesn't renew, me or my administration team will
Yeah.
contact them almost like an exit meeting, right?
Yeah.
And we'll say, how was it with Sean? Most of the time, the experience, if we bomb one, we bomb one, right? Every business has we have a 5% bomb rate, meaning either we got the client started on the bad foot, wrong coach. Maybe it was a client we sold to the wrong service.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
200 clients. Every year 5 to 10 we'll miss the mark on, right?
For sure.
But if it comes down to a client who didn't continue after that time period, when I do a service call and ask, what usually the answer is why they didn't?
Nobody asked for no.
Coach didn't ask. They kind of
That's
were like, oh yeah, do you want to? How's it going? Do you want to continue? They didn't sit down and say, listen, this has been a great 7.5 months. Here's all the things you've done really well. Let me acknowledge the fact that you've trained 72 times in the last 7 months, where you haven't
mm-hmm.
done that in the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's highlight your strength. Let's highlight your injury reduction or your pain reduction. If there's composition goals, inches, all that stuff, your food changes, your lifestyle changes. And then you say, here's some things I want to work on next. How are we going to go about this? We can continue on the same service that we've been doing 3 times a week, 2 times a week. Maybe there needs to be a change. Maybe that was a one-time investment where they can't spend as much. Maybe they go to programming 1 time a week hybrid. It needs to be a
Yeah.
conversation, right? And usually it's like, hey, Sean, are you continuing? Oh, okay, you have to think about it? All right, well, let me know. That's not a conversation, right? So not asking for renewals is the thing. And then referrals. Some coaches will say, yeah, I asked for referrals. I'm not getting any. You can't be like, hey, do you know anybody that wants to work out? That's the same way of being like, hey, let me know if you want to continue. It's not a very powerful ask. And a
Nah, it's
powerful
not.
ask would say, Sean, we've been working together for 7.5 months. I really enjoy working out with you. Um, we've seen great successes. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure, most definitely. For
So,
sure.
Sean, I'm looking for one person to fill my 5 p.m. slot. One person that helps my roster fill it out for me, make me
Mm-hmm.
some more money for my profession, and then we can give the gift of the same goals that you've gotten to someone else, obviously in their own scope.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody in your personal network who you've told about our experience that I can call?
Yeah, I got a
Right?
few. Yeah.
Perfect. If you don't mind, I would like to take their name and number, take the pressure off you.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can do is maybe just give them a heads up that I may or may not call, depending on how it goes, and that way I can have a conversation. That's an assertive ask. That's not an easy ask,
Very.
right? But it's not like I'm asking this to someone I just met 7 minutes ago. I've had 7.5 months, and your name is ringing out. Month one, week one, month
Mm-hmm.
one, month three, month seven. Especially as your client's getting results, everybody's looking, everyone's asking, but people are busy. They don't always remember how to say, yeah, you know what, Sean? Some people are really good at it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I've built a huge chunk of my business off those one or two connectors that just like, go see my guy, go see my guy. But everybody has that power. You just have to communicate in a way that makes it easy for them, and then be a little
Mm-hmm.
assertive too, right?
I think that's the most important part. You said being assertive. It comes back down to personality, but I believe that's where my business in terms of retention shift started to turn the corner. It just wasn't assertive. I would just allow people to just come and go. I would just, chase after clientele. And it's like, nah, this is how I do stuff. This is how we're going to continue to do stuff.
Right,
If you want to continue, then we need to renew the contract.
right,
Simple as that.
right.
If you don't, it's okay. I appreciate everything. You want to go month to month, we can go month to month at this month to month rate. I'll upcharge you
Yep.
to that whatever that rate is, et cetera, et cetera. So I think being assertive was what helped me as a young coach. I had to realize you got to put your foot down. It's your business. It's your life.
It's
It's
your
what pays
business.
your bills.
You, right.
And it definitely has helped. And I think to add to that same point about business, right? How important is it to know who you are in terms of being an entrepreneur? Because I feel like there's different ways you can go about it. You can be a business owner and work within somebody's facility and obviously pay overhead. You can go the next route, like yourself, which is like you actually have to pay the overhead for the full facility and you have to hire staff and coaches and stuff like that. Or you can be a hybrid where you have like online services that help offload those overhead bills. But in terms of knowing who you are, personality wise, and how you go about life, how important is that within the scope of business to know which lane or which route?
Shit, that's everything, man. They have there's a saying that the artist isn't always the person who should own an art gallery, right?
Mm,
And I think it's this mindset like, oh, I'm gonna be a coach. I'm gonna coach people. I'm gonna open a gym. You sure? Because sometimes when you own a gym or own a space, the last thing
yeah.
you're doing is coaching, right?
Yeah, you ain't doing
So
shit besides paying the bills, man.
it's it's a different experience, that's for sure. So I think what's important as you're going through those first few years, like the career path and ownership and all this. So first thing is, like we said, take some time to figure out the ideal market or your ideal target. And when you're looking at the clients that work well with you, it's which ones give you energy, which ones you, oh, I don't want to see this person at 5, which
Hmm.
one are you happy that cancel, right? Those things you want to look at, right? Same thing now when you are going through those first few years after. So first thing is like get that client niche down, and 60
Yeah.
to 70% of your roster should represent your target market. And then 20 to 30 is either people you're experimenting with, right? So
Hmm.
maybe I'm 70% youth athlete and I'll take 30% executive just to see if I
Yeah.
like that group. And let's be honest, sometimes that 30% just might be people you take on just because you need some money,
Yeah, for sure.
right? But after that, now you want to have that same approach where, what do I like about my day? Is it the programming? Is it the client communication? Is it the sales? Is it the follow up,
Yeah.
right? Because the next step in your business is almost always going to be destroy and rebuild. So what I suggest for all coaches is this. You should at least have one or two coaches in a very organized downline.
Mm.
What do I mean by that? I keep referencing this like 2 to 3 years of you getting on your feet, right? Well, in that 2 to 3 years, when you hit year 3, someone else is in that 1 to 2 years or 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
In fact, in our business, kind of when you hit like 6, 8 months, you're almost a veteran because it's a high turnover, right? So it's a shame, but it's almost it's like college.
Chill
You're a
out, but you're
freshman,
right.
right?
You're right. You're right.
You're a
You're right.
freshman one day, next you know the C's on your chest, just like that. But I encourage all of my coaches, and about 30% of my coaches do this. They work with another coach under them. So what does that do?
Yeah.
First and foremost, as I'm built up my target market, my demographic, and I'm full, someone comes to me and says, oh man, I want to train at 7 a.m. You don't have 7 a.m. But my new guy, Sean, I really like him. He has 7 a.m. I'm going to do the programming and management for you. Sean's going to execute the on the floor sessions. Okay? So, first things first, whether you're renting in a facility or you're in a corporate gym, this works anywhere. Even if you're online, you now have someone you can off put some work to, and there should be a monetary exchange. So, in
Hmm.
my gym, it's 10%. Okay? So, if the client's paying $70 an hour, I'll take 7 and I'll pay Sean, whatever Sean's rate is. Right?
Hmm.
$7 doesn't sound like a lot, but if I have 10 sessions a day where that's happening, it's $70 for me doing nothing, right?
Yep. Still some passive.
Passive. The next thing is I get to develop Sean. Because usually that person that I'm going to trust is usually the person who came and asked me questions, was working out with
Hmm.
me. You can see someone who's keen versus someone you're like, nah, I don't want to do with that guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely.
And in our process at my gym, that person has to train with that coach for about at least 3 to 6 months.
Mm.
And they have to pay. It's not like just come work out with me today. You become a client into that senior coach's roster. So you're getting a
Yeah.
compounded learning effect, which is making you more confident. The coach, senior coach, is getting a client, it's another paid client. And sometimes we give a discount,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For sure.
And then expands their network because now they can say, all right, you want to work with Nsuani? I can't. But I got Sean, I got Callie, and I got Jacob. So I
Hmm.
would say every coach in that under 5 years, you should have at least 2 people in your downline. Okay. And then you want to have somebody who's probably a nutritional expert, naturopath, dietitian,
Yeah.
and then someone who's in treatment, if not a few, physiotherapy, osteo, anything in that space. And if you really think about it, you're managing a business.
Whether
It's
you
not
know
a
it or not, whether you know it or
right. Whether you
not,
know or
but
not,
you
it's
are.
not. It's not a full time business. You're not worried about plumbing and heat and rent. But basically, what you're doing is you're managing clients through different professionals and having one solid expectation, which is client service. So,
Yeah, and that's how you build your framework for your bigger
right.
shit.
And that one may have to be, hey, Sean, I saw you had a coffee on the floor with the client I gave you. That may not be something, if that's not something you want for a service, hey, I got to tighten that up. Definitely if Sean's late or Sean missed a session or Sean's not programming properly, you got to tighten that up. And any good
Yeah,
junior coach wants that type of leadership anyway, right?
accountability. Yeah.
Accountability. You've compounded your learning or earning, excuse me. So now that you
Hmm.
are creating more income, whether it's passive or residual, whatever you want to call it, and then you have a thought of, well, you know what? I'm billing 60K, 70K as a coach. I'm taking another 10 or 20 just in managing these two
Passive.
coaches.
Yeah,
This is what a facility might look like.
for sure, hands down.
This is what running a team might look like. Now, if you're doing that and it's the worst experience of the world, don't worry, don't do it no more, right? And at least you didn't have to go open a space and fit it with equipment and pay for logo branding. I see a lot of people do that
uh,
first and then try to build a team. I'd say never do that shit. Have your team in
every
place first.
gym in Atlanta does that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like every gym in Atlanta gets the big ass gym, Rogue equipment, erg this, whatever you name, it's there, right?
Yeah,
And then go on fucking Indeed
yeah, yeah.
and try to find coaches. Like
We're
you're
looking for
cooked.
coaches. Don't ever put that shit up, man. Yeah,
Man,
I
you're
hear you.
cooked.
It's the way if you build it, it will come mentality, and I do get that. But if you're not walking into a space with a solid team, especially if it's on your dime, that's going to be a problem. And you also need to, like, I believe every single coach would be a very good coach of other coaches. And sometimes people say, oh,
Hmm.
I don't want to get into management. It's like, bro, you have 30 athletes. You're already in management. But you should at least try it, one to two coaches, maybe one to three, because you also know this is a young person's game. I'm 42. I actually want to teach a class this morning. I could teach a class once every 6 weeks,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's the time of my schedule with my family, as my family grows, this is my body. I can't be on the floor as much as I used to. So,
Real shit.
we service 200 hours a week. I need a team to do that. And what the great thing is that I can go on the internet, I can market, I can go out there and be like, yeah, here's a video on how to, you know, cure sciatica pain, or I can speak to, energy created by changing how your breakfast strategy is. And I get 32 DMs. Boom. I can pass those out, right? Back in the day,
That's
I'd try
real.
to work all 32 and burn myself out,
Nah,
right?
that's facts.
And so basically, to answer your question, it's like you always have to destroy and rebuild your business, especially
Yeah.
if you want it to grow. And the skills that are required are probably the ones that you haven't taken on yet, right?
Mm.
So there's a great book. There's a good book everyone should read in this business. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. That's the dude that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And he speaks about what I just spoke about across every single service-based industry. Because the same thing applies for a
Mm.
dentist, right? Same thing applies for a doctor, a lawyer, even an artist. Even think of it from like just a simple artistry point of view, right? You have your Drakes and you have your Jay-Z's.
Mm.
And Jay-Z's like, yeah, hit, album. Then he's like, Kanye, Reed, Young Guns, Freeway, Beanie Siegel,
Mm-hmm.
Bleak.
J.
He just
Cole, all of them.
J.
Yeah.
Cole. Like, yeah, yeah, okay. And I can still jump on a track. I can still do a feature. I
Yeah.
can still do my own album, or I can just not and eat, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Drake, by the way, Drizzy for life, Toronto forever. We'll come back. Don't worry about the Super Bowl. It's hurting right now. We'll be okay. But Drizzy, we hurting
Oh
right now.
shit.
We hurting
Oh
bad right
shit.
now.
Oh, shit.
Kendrick stomping on my boy. But you know what?
Oh
It
man,
needed to be said. He got way outside of himself. But anyway, that's a different story
he
for the
got out of
day.
pocket.
He got
Yeah.
out of pocket. There's no need. He got way too much money. A couple years ago, we was dancing, Afro beats, and house, and all of a sudden he went gangster. I don't know why he did it, but anyway, there's someone like Drake who unfortunately has never raised up or developed someone up to his level. So he's
Hmm.
always pushing the music, right? He has his little crew here and there. He's got some guys making hits, but there's no reason why Drake shouldn't have found the next Drake, right? Jay found Ye or Jay developed Ye, right?
Yeah.
And that just made his life way easier. And here's the kicker. We're talking about money and schedule and growth and all these things that are very important. Where do you think my inspiration comes from? It comes from
Mm.
my junior coaches.
Mm.
You guys are the ones with the physical ability, the capacity, the mental ability. You guys are looking at stuff. I read Paulo Quinn and Paul Check. You guys know all the new people, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be on the
Yeah.
floor one day with my client, look over at him like, oh, that's a very intelligent way to do that exercise. I'm taking that, right?
Stealing that for sure.
I'm stealing
For
that.
sure.
So if I never built out this team of people who are younger and needed my help, and therefore there was a growth opportunity for all of us, plus a business opportunity, it's also a creative opportunity, right?
Hmm.
You think Jay-Z didn't get better rapping with Ye? You think he didn't get
Had to.
better
Come on now.
from Cole? You think Cole said, remember you said that? There's a dude right now beating on his kitchen
Eating
table,
Fruity Loops.
eating Fruity Loops, and
Oh, no problems with him.
you're right. I'm a sign him, right? So I
I'm a
look at this.
sign him.
I'm a sign him. That's just right. That's why the man's still relevant at 50 something years old. You think Hope knows to dress? I mean, Hope could always dress, but all his little styles is because he's always watching the culture and he's watching the youth.
Yeah, he's hip to the streets for
He's
sure.
plugged in. So in our business, it's always going to be a young person's game. So I have to watch it and be like, oh, okay, there's that dude. He's nice. He's on time. He's professional. He's clean. He does know what he's doing. He's over there selling those bullshit 5-pack sessions. All right, cool. Um, he's letting that client run him a little bit. Okay. His social media is a little You know what? I'm going to sign him, right? And therefore now we both grow together. So,
Yeah, I mean that's how you took me under your wing when I was like, you know what, bro, remind me of bro is where I want to be in 20 years. Let me reach out, and
and
you did not hesitate.
I'm not even, I'm like, oh, and you're in the States? So I'm plugged in now. And what I love about you is that you literally, I don't even have to look. You tag me in shit I should see, right? You know how much a blessing that is? I'm sitting there one day and like, oh, I'm like, yup. Sometimes I repost it. I definitely save it. You're giving me your
Yeah,
vision. I
yeah,
mean, what more can I ask for? There's definitely been some dollars behind that, just in the simple fact that
yeah.
it's a viewpoint I didn't have, right? So again, let's just make sure if anyone's listening, we're going a bit around, but you hone
Hmm.
your craft, show value to your market, and get great there, and then you look back and you pay it forward, right? And not just in an
Yeah,
altruistic point of view. Make it a business, right? Because if you hone your craft and you're nailing it right, you'll probably have too many people. There's probably some
mm.
clients that there's probably some clients in your roster right now that can benefit with working with another coach because you're not giving the best service because you're too tired. And that'll be a blessing for the client. It's a blessing for the trainer. It will open up your creativity time or your management time or your content
Yep.
time, right? Or you can now work on other services that you haven't been offering that you said you want to get to that you're now, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like sometimes we hold on to things and we always say, I see strength coaches, they've been doing the same thing for 12 years. They're still good at what they do, but it's like, man, you missed it. In 12 years, you got 20 strength coaches that you should have been linking with,
Yeah, you
right?
could have been scaled out, yo. You could have been
Woo.
scaled out.
And then if you have that thing and it hits right, two of my friends this year, three of my friends,
Yeah.
took their business out of paid centers, one out of mine, and put it right down the lease with our blessing, right?
Mm.
So if you're
Lit.
generating now 4, 5, 6K, my one friend was generating 12K a month for her lease space because she had so much business that she created in there. And get this, the dude who owned the space had a problem with her, just simple-minded jealousy. And she's like, you know what? Should I buy my own space? I'm like, Shorty, you already are paying for a
You
space.
already are. You already are. Whether you know it or not. Come on.
What are you doing that? So on October 3rd, she's just winding down her contracts. She's picking up herself, her 3
Yeah.
coaches, and her 70 clients, and they're just dropping into their own space,
As they should.
as they should, right? So I think that's kind of the way, you know, it's a good maturation of the business. And the great thing is, by doing it that way, I can control my schedule. Where it's like, okay, this quarter I'm all about. I'm teaching a class today, but I'm really into doing a
Mm,
long term planning for 2025 and 2026. But I know the first quarter of 2025, I want to coach like 15 hours a week.
mm,
So I can easily jump back in and coach. The second quarter of 2025, I want to be on vacation for at least 6 weeks.
yeah.
So then the center runs itself, and I could kind of play with my schedule that way, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, having those streams set up, it's super important as a coach. But again, I cash flow quadrant, Roderick Kiyosaki, he explains that. He says, a dentist will work forever. They might be the best dentist in the city getting $2,000 an hour, or you can set up 4 clinics, right?
And
And
hire
clean
people.
and hire people, build a system, and you can still treat at $2,000 an hour. Maybe do it 5 times a week instead of doing it
Yeah,
10 hours a day, right?
that's
So
real.
yeah,
I was talking to one of my young guys. We met on a hiking group, and I was telling him, I was like, we was talking about systems and things of that nature, and I was telling him, like, in the end, you know, you build out enough systems to where it just becomes its own ecosystem.
hmm
That's just the end goal.
absolutely,
Like we talk like words are trendy. Everybody talk about thinking systems, da da da. Yo, all right, that's cool. That sounds amazing, but you have to build an ecosystem. You have to build your own water system, man. Like, how does this shit replenish on its own when I'm not here?
absolutely,
And the biggest thing to what you just said is like we basically kind of walked and shown people um not only how to be a coach, but to how to eventually run your own ecosystem as a coach and how to run yourself, scale yourself into other people and then your business. And eventually, like, you can have the flexibility to still make the same money, if not a bit more.
it'll be more for
But
sure because it
yeah,
compounds, right? It starts to compound.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And then when you walk away, it's like, oh shit, like I'm not on the floor as much, still getting paid great money. I get to still
yeah,
do what I want to do. That's all it's about, man. Like, biggest thing I'm doing, and I'll share it on here because I don't give a damn anybody really gonna steal it that well. I realized that this is my theory as a coach, young coach. Your in person, all your in person stuff is gonna allow you to really scale out digitally a lot better instead of trying to do stuff backwards. So for me, it's like, all right, like instead of me trying to be well known nationwide, let me just dominate statewide, right? Let me
right,
dominate statewide, and how does that look 5 to 10 years in terms of doing seminars and clinics all over Georgia
right,
as a coach? And so I wanted to figure out how to dominate within the middle school and high school, mainly high school. That's more important. In terms of like development, middle school is grassroots. You can kind of get away with sixth and seventh grade, just a bit, just a
right,
bit.
right.
But the main point I'm trying to say, 'cause I know you have a window coming up soon to get ready to go to a coach,
Yeah,
is that development isn't what it used to be back in the day from your time, where coaches legit knew what the hell freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors are going to do. That
yeah,
has been lost.
yeah, absolutely,
So you
absolutely.
know, history repeats itself. I'm not doing shit new, bro. I'm reading all the
Yep,
old books of Al Miller, Al Vermeil, on how to train guys from 1 month to the next.
yep,
Only thing I'm doing differently is how do I have a year-round training calendar for high school athletes based upon their skill development and what the demands are for skill developments as a freshman to a senior and their athletic development. Also, in correlation to the year-round basketball demands of fall ball, winter league, which is regular season, playoffs, then obviously spring AAU, summer high school session, and then summer AAU. Like, these kids only get probably 2 months off from basketball.
yeah. It's crazy now.
And
It's absolutely crazy.
yeah, yeah. And now it's like, we hear so many coaches on the grams like, oh, these kids have no off season. Yeah, they fucking don't. Who cares? How do you modify that? Shut up. Like, I'm
Right,
tired of hearing that shit.
right.
You gotta adapt to the times. These kids play too much. Yup, you're right. And you gotta figure out how to help with that wear and tear. I'm sorry. That's your job.
Yeah, yeah.
That system makes too much money. It's too powerful. It is way
It's not
beyond our
going away,
reach. So I have to do my part.
especially with NIL. It's not going
It's
anywhere.
not. It's not. Oh my fucking god, I made it worse. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Keep complaining about it on your soapbox? No, you gotta adapt to the time so you can make money within that
Right,
space. It's a huge gap. Who's gonna step in and say, you know what, I can develop a system to where like I can offload that wear and tear. You still get developed the right way, but it complements your hectic ass schedule. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm finalizing them, trying to get things done, and it's going to be implemented all in 2025. But for the next 5 to 6 years, that's all I'm doing.
That's
I should
all
have
you
at
need to
least
do.
two to
Yeah.
yeah. I should have two graduated classes that show results, and from there, now I'm going from county to county, giving this blueprint to the strength coaches and also the assistant coaches in schools. Like, look, this is the framework you need to have to
Right.
help your school win.
And
AAU coaches, same
it
thing.
just it'll compound, right? Like I started my coaching practice in Toronto. The greater Toronto area is like Toronto
Hmm.
plus the suburbs. So call it like 7 million people. I started
Okay,
inten- intentionally in 2008. So what is that now?
yeah,
That's 16 years. Okay,
for sure.
16 years of literally what you said you're doing in my own way, just
Yeah.
pounding the pavement, right? Sessions on the floor, group sessions on the floor, speaking engagements, being the marshal at races, warm ups at events, radio station, like just pounding the pavement for 16 years. I opened my own space 4 years ago. So during COVID, that was like a bit of a slow come up, but now it's
Hmm.
just compounding, right?
Yes.
And in the
Yeah.
next 4 years, I'm going to 5 spaces. Why am I going to 5 spaces? Well, now 16 years in the GTA, my name rings out. In fact, some of my pain points are the fact that people can't always make it to Midtown Toronto,
Mm.
right? We have digital options and that's great, but I actually want to go meet people where they're at and I know the neighborhoods I want to be in. More importantly,
Hmm.
that conversation we had about having juniors and people under you, I now have staffing.
Oh
So
yeah, you
someone
definitely
can
got
just,
staffing for sure.
right? Someone can go over there, someone can go over there. At the same time too, I'm watching the pain points of my coaches because everyone is not to say in a negative, in a predatory way, but everybody is a client and a sale at the end of the day. The pain point in my
Yeah.
coaches is like they're grinding in their first few years and they're paying these crazy downtown Toronto prices. It's not long before one of them's like, yo, I'm going to go out to the burbs. Oh, say word? I'm actually going to open up out there. Would you want to be my head coach out there? And they can go out there with a
Hmm.
salary, a system, known brand. So I think, you know, that is kind of lost sometimes nowadays with the fitness game, the wellness game. It's like put in those mixtapes, put in those tours, right?
You
Put in
have
those
to.
put in those cipher sessions, put in all those things that's gonna make you better. You can't just do big anthems, big albums all the time. It doesn't work that way. Well, it could, maybe, but there's something
I
inauthentic about
mean,
that, right?
yeah, I mean, we gotta look at the greatest artists, look at the hosts, look at the Waynes, look at how they built their name. And at the end of the day, it came back from doing tours.
Tours. Feet on the ground, get in front of the people. Yeah, you can sell them a digital product after, but I feel like everyone's rushing for digital product. And I get it, it's a huge market, but it's also like,
But you
look
got to
up,
build a name, man.
gotta build a name. Life for client. Like, and especially for coaches, and I'm just gonna end on this, is like, especially for coaches, is like, if you don't love the sales cycle, marketing cycle, if you're one of the coaches, and I still call influencers coaches, I do. But if you're one of the coaches that loves the sales cycle, marketing cycle, run all day long. Make $1 million. I think that's beautiful. But if you're a coach, like an SC health coach strategist who does for social media marketing out of necessity, not out of like love and creativity, then you
Yeah,
definitely should make sure your sales cycles are your life of client is long. And like you said, year-round programs and things that like have people longer getting better results versus shorter results or shorter time periods with more people, right?
yeah, I agree. I agree. So I'm gonna just probably end it off with this last topic, so you can go ahead and get to your next location.
Yes, sir.
Um, I guess I would say this is very off topic, but I would say this: how important? This is more personable. How important is it to work on yourself and have tools outside of you, support systems and things of that nature to make sure self is at the best possible level?
Great question. I think that you said it earlier and you nailed it. Like that is the job title or job description, right? If
Hmm.
I'm somebody who you're looking to for support, uh, motivation, strategy, advice, how could I be someone who does not practice those same principles on self? It's literally that simple. And often what I'm saying to somebody is something somebody is helping me on myself,
For sure.
right? And I just happen to have started the process. a little earlier than they have. I've seen the value of this tool, and I've actually vetted the tool. This is why I'm suggesting it to you, right? And there is nothing that I suggest that I haven't done myself. That's why I do a lot of things. I'm always seeking. I consider myself a junior. I've had 15 to 20 personal trainers in the last 15 to 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a coach, I have to have a coach, right? I'm always working with new physios, new chiros, even people outside the space, healers and somatic healers, and people who
Heavy on
don't even,
somatic people.
of course, right? I've
Yeah.
I've
They my
worked with
peoples.
I've worked with four different functional pattern coaches. Even though that system
Yeah.
has a lot of polarizing opinions, and I don't always love the marketing on it, the work I love. Work's very intelligent, right? I work with a doula, bro. I hired a doula for 6 months. A
That's
doula.
wavy.
That's
That's
crazy, right?
crazy.
And the reason for that was I was getting ready to have I couldn't avoid a hernia surgery, and I knew I'd have to rebuild my visceral tissue, specifically through my abdominal area. Well, who would be the best person to help somebody to rebuild visceral tissue in the abdominal area? Someone who works with pregnant people. That would make
Yeah.
sense, right? And I was like, no one thinks like that. Some people are looking for the guy with the 10-pack. This woman specializes in rebuilding transverse abdominis, layers of tissue walls, core stability, interabdominal air pressure, breathing. You're my person. You're my doula. Right? A little funny. It was funny for those 6 months, but that's my whole point. My job is to go out, seek, and work on myself. And then through association, I have value.
Yeah, it's real. That's real. Wish we had more time, man. It was a great talk today. I know you got to go run and go coach the 9 a.m. Session.
Yes, sir.
I hear the Toronto streets are literally barking on you right now.
They're getting up. Everyone's waking up.
Everybody up now. Everybody
Everybody's up
definitely up
now.
and trying to fix that hangover.
There you go.
But we'll definitely chop soon, man. I appreciate you for helping me get this done today.
Hey, you got to get up this way soon, brother. The streets are calling for you.
Yes, sir. All right, boss man. Be easy, man.
Thank you for the opportunity. Talk to you soon.
All right, talk soon. All right, bye.